we've got a gift shop here in Belleek village, and we specialise in local artists and crafts. For the gifts, our tagline would be Irish brands and artisan gifts. So we combine some of the big Irish gift brands, the leaders in the market, with the kitchen table crafts and local artists, and that works really well for us. So we also sell online. We have our own website, and we've 2 eBay shops, so we post all over the world. And we also depend very heavily on our local customers and on tourists during the tourist season. So the first time I heard about the coronavirus, I think there was news coming from China early on, maybe even in January, but it never really occurred to us that it was going to come here. We were watching the news in Italy, and it was really quite frightening what was going on, watching people in apartments singing to each other from balconies. And that sort of would have led us to think that we might need to close up, because there were cases coming in. The first case had come in to Northern Ireland. When we decided to close our shop, we felt very strongly that we weren't an essential service, and the other shops that had to stay open were under enough pressure without us adding to that. So we felt it was really important to protect ourselves and the community around us to just be closed. Well, for me, I have to say I have seen the value of having a bit of time off, because prior to the lockdown I was working 6 days a week here in the shop, and then also sometimes sitting in the evenings answering emails. Particularly American customers, emails tend to come through later in the evening, and you'd always try and reply to them as soon as possible. So I have seen the value of having a little bit of time off and time to myself. The first 2 weeks of the lockdown, I had a complete break. I didn't do any work, and just took it easy. I pretty much stopped watching the news. I just focused on the local papers, because I felt that the Fermanagh and the Impartial Reporter were giving good quality local information, and they didn't have the panicky headlines that some of the national papers would have had. I also unfollowed people on Facebook, on my own personal Facebook, who were printing scary headlines and making my heart jump. I've got a little group on Facebook called An Irish Village, and I did, in the first couple of days, I did a live video in it just for a chat with everyone in the group, and I felt a million times better after it, because everyone was commenting. And then it was at that point I realised we are in this together. Everybody is suffering something here on some level. And that group was great, and we decided to make it a little positive place. So people were putting up pictures of what things they found on their walks and nice things like that. So we live in a very scenic part of the country here in Fermanagh, and we have the River Erne flowing past that we can walk along. And I felt really we were in a little bit of a rural idyll, and you could almost forget that the pandemic was happening at all here if you weren't watching the news. And it was a great escape for us to not have that worry and fear. And the local shops were fantastic. They were delivering to people who were afraid to go to the shops, and putting in sinks so that you could wash your hands going into the shop. And they acted very quickly. And we were very isolated from, I'd say our situation was totally different to that of someone living in a large urban area in a city. There was an awful lot of good things came out, where people were helping each other and looking out for each other. And there was a lot of information coming out there, phone someone you know who lives alone, and people were doing that. And it was great, to see that happening, and that old sense of community, old-fashioned sense of community coming back. And I think people have appreciated that, and will keep that going into the future.